darlings. Today I'm going to talk about my audiobook progress as a very brand new, very ignorant narrator. So what I know about sound and recording is basically nothing. Like, no clue, super over my head, absolutely nothing. So I'm going to share how things have been going while I've had like no experience with any of this and it's so over my head. So I have recorded the first 4 chapters of my book Satirists, and that's been going interestingly. So first of all, I did try to start where I'm at. So currently I am in my office, sort of, and I have a desktop computer right next to me, and that's where I do most of my writing and anything else that I need to do. So I was like, oh, this will be great because my computer's right here, blah, blah, blah. I made a sound dampening box. And then I realized that I have pets, and the mic picks up everything, regardless of the fancy sound dampening box that I made. So you might hear my dogs clicking around. They like to play. My cats like to meow. All of them want attention at some point. They're very lovey. And like one's scratching right now. So that's fun. So I realized I had to go and commandeer one of my closets as a sound recording space, mostly because of my pets. Like, they're kind of the main noise. But I also do live kind of close to a highway, so you can sort of hear that too. So anyway, got my closet all set up, put up a laptop there, and then I stand because I figure I can orate better when I'm standing. And I like to sort of act things out in a way, like with my hands, because I feel like it helps me bring more energy and emotion to the narrating. And so my first 2 chapters actually went really well. I was pleasantly surprised. I was able to edit things fairly easily, which was kind of exciting and very neat. And if I had any breaths that were super loud or like swallows or weird things, I don't know if this is what you're supposed to do, but I copied a segment of just room noise, so silence, not technically silence, but quiet, and just pasted that over, and it sounded okay to my ears. So hopefully that is good enough. I don't know. But then my 3rd chapter, let me back up. So after my 2nd one, I recorded it. Like I said, I was standing, and I was thinking, oh, it'd be nice to sit down, because I don't know. So I brought a small chair into my small recording studio. I plopped down, I grabbed my laptop, and I'm like, boop-a-doop-a-boop, because that's how you edit. Like, it's more like this, with your mouse. So I edit, and I'm sitting in my cold little closet. Went well. So I come back, 3rd chapter, ready to roll, and I'm looking, so I record in a program called Audacity. And normally when I'm recording, let's say the recording is like this tall. And I don't even know what the words are for this. Like, the thing, when you're recording the sound, it goes like, I don't even know what you call that. That's the state of my ignorance. The sound, I don't know what it is. Normally it's like that big. And for whatever reason, when I was recording, it was like that big. And I'm like, what is going on? Why is it so quiet? And the microphone that I have, you can plug headphones into it, so you in real time can hear what the mic is picking up. So you hear yourself talking, but also through the headphones. So it sounded as loud as normal to me, but for whatever reason, Audacity was picking it up as like much quieter words. Then when I'd recorded it before, and I'm like, what is going on? I'm like, well, I'm going to be levelating it and normalizing it. I still don't know what these things are. I'm going to do things that I was taught to do so that it will all be relatively even and you won't have like weird, quiet moments and loud moments. So I went to edit it because I'm like, it should be fine. And it was a nightmare. Like, I don't know what was going on. So like I said, I would hear like a kind of a loud breath. And I was like, this sounds distracting. And so I would try to paste in that quiet. And for some reason, I kept clipping off the end of words, even though the word should have been done. And then there'd be like a weird click, and it was just not working out well. It was horrible. It sounded bad, and so I ended up leaving in just a lot of these breaths. And I don't know if I was breathing more loudly than before, or if I was just really focused in on them. Because that's another thing, is you realize how loud your breaths sound, and you think about it too much. At least I do. I think about it too much, and then I'm like, stop breathing, or then I want to take like in this really long breath so I can read an entire paragraph without stopping for breath, and that's not what you're supposed to do. So that's the thing I'm trying to learn, is to breathe more quietly and to breathe normally and to stop thinking about it. But yeah, it went terribly, and I was like, what is going on? But I'm like, maybe the breaths aren't as bad as I think they are, because now I pay attention to audiobooks when I'm listening. Some areas there's like no breaths, so I'm thinking either they breathe very quietly or somebody is editing them out. And then other people, you can hear their breaths if you focus on it, and then it gets to the point where that's all you're listening to, and then you have to be like, stop, just listen to the story. So I was like, well, maybe it's not that bad. Maybe I'm just too focused, and I'll just leave it. But then it bothered me. I like re-listened, and I was just like, I can't. So come back to my room, and I'm like, what if it's the chair? Like, why would that make a difference? Because I felt like I was standing just as close to the mic, because apparently this is how close you're supposed to be. So I'm like, maybe I'm like too far from the mic, but I didn't think I was. But I'm like, I'm probably standing a little bit differently, because I stand with kind of like a wider stance. I think my hips are just weird, and so it feels more comfortable if I have a wider stance. Like if I'm like too narrow, it feels odd, and I don't like it. So I'm like, maybe that's throwing me off. I don't know what. So I didn't think it was a sound thing, like sound bouncing off the chair. I didn't think it was like that. But so I took out the chair. Way better. 1,000 times better. Just as easy as the first 2 chapters. So I'm like, it was the chair. Ridiculous. I don't know why. But like I said, it's probably just how I was standing somehow, and I probably was not as close to the mic, even though I thought I was. So that went better, and that was really cool, and I liked that. So if you change something in your sound studio, it might have a weird impact that you don't think that it will. If you're brand new, like I am, and you don't understand anything, everything I've learned has been from random YouTube things. The most helpful has been from someone named Bailey Varnis. I might be gonna look that up. Yeah, that's her. Maybe. Yep, I believe that's her name. Super wonderful tutorials that go step by step through everything and gives you enough to get into trouble with. Another thing I was going to talk about is editing styles. So when I heard people talk about editing, they're like, oh, it takes a really long time. It's going to be 5 times the amount of time it takes for you to record something. And I was like, that's very intimidating. I'm like, what all are you going to have to edit? And so far, I believe the only things you have to edit are when you make mistakes, editing those out. If you do weird breaths, if you have weird clicks, weird sounds, luckily when you're using Audacity, there's a, was it like noise reduction? I want to say, where you can choose a section of room noise, and then you can have it remove that from the entire track. So if you have just something weird in the background, it will pull that out, which is very helpful, but very quick. So that's a thing I'm still figuring out, because I'm like, it actually doesn't take me that long to edit. So I'm like, am I doing something wrong? Because it should take a lot longer than it is taking me. So I don't know what's going on. And so far, my first chapters are pretty short. So I don't know if that makes it easier too. Like once I run into a longer chapter, will I just fall apart and like make a ton of mistakes? Like, is that why? So that's interesting. Another thing I am thinking about is how I edit out mistakes. So Bailey Varnes was saying the way she does it. So you have a track. So it's a thing of sound going across Audacity or whatever you're using. If you mess up, you can pause the track, make sure you're at the end of it, start a new track underneath that starts right here, and then you continue. And a thing I have learned from multiple people is you always start a sentence over. So you never like start in the middle or wherever you messed up. You make sure to start it over. So if I'm reading and I'm like, oh, I watched its hot metal tips here, deep charcoal color on the body of a euphoric T-Rex. I would not start over at that clutched a back scratcher. I would start over from the beginning of that sentence and say, I watched its hot metal tips here, deep charcoal color on the body of a euphoric T-Rex that clutched a back scratcher. And that's what I do. I make the motions. I act it out. Acting. I don't sound like that when I record, by the way. It's not as weird. And then, so when you're doing those separate tracks, what you end up doing is you can very easily see where you messed up because you have a whole new track. So then you're going to pull off wherever you messed up. So you'd have the I watched its hot metal tip, blah, blah, blah. You'd delete that out, and then you would copy and paste this second track underneath and into one track. And so you have fixed it, and now it will sound fine and normal. I know one person commented that they just do one single track, and then they will use like a clicker, like a dog training clicker, or just make a weird sound and be like, meep, or something that's going to spike on your track, so you're going to be able to see when you've made a mistake. So I might actually try that and see if that is quicker, because having to like copy and paste is kind of annoying. Like, it's not a big deal. It's pretty quick, because especially if you're using the keyboard, hang loose, using the keyboard shortcuts, that's what it's called. But I'm like, oh, if I could make it a little bit faster even, that would be cool. And I'm realizing it's so fun, like watching and being able to see the sound waves and realize that you can tell like what you have to cut out without even listening to it. It's really cool, because when you say, I watched this hot metal tip, and then you screw up, and then you see the next thing, I watched this hot metal tip, these are going to be pretty much identical, and that's super cool, because you can look for the matching shapes and be like, oh, okay, this, and I always listen to make sure, but that is something I found really exciting, because I'm like, the shapes match! Like, of course they would, but it's just exciting to me, because I don't know what I'm doing. So this is getting very long and awkward. But those are my thoughts so far. Like I said, editing is easier than I thought it would be, and that concerns me, because it should be taking me longer. And that's not a humble brag. Like, it's probably going to suck when I get everything done, and then I figure out like uploading it to like ACX, Audible Creation Exchange. I should probably do that first. Like, I started my account, and I have not done anything else with it, and I better figure that out before I get too much further. But it would suck to like upload it all to Audible or ACX or whatever, and then have them be like, this sucks, this is terrible, do it all over again, and then I would have spent many, many hours just... But it's getting practice. That's what I keep trying to tell myself when I get bogged down and stressed, because I'm like, what if I do all of this and they reject it? It's practice. It's practice, and I get to do it again even better. Or it gets accepted, and I am better at this than I thought I would be, which would be cool. Okay, I don't know. I love you guys. Thanks for listening. If you would like to subscribe or comment or share or any of those other things, I'm never going to say hit the bell. Maybe I will. Maybe I'll sell out. I don't know. I'm not saying sell out. I don't like notifications unless they're rare and they're for things you really love. I'm going to go. Stop talking. I need to make dinner. Okay, bye.